Oliver Kevin.
I thank my right honourable friend for her answer. Our fantastic EFL club, Stevenage FC, is currently pushing for promotion to the Championship, and its community foundation has delivered nearly £10.7 million of social value to my constituents in the last year alone. Communities outside of host cities have not always felt the benefits of hosting major international tournaments. So can my right honourable friend explain how the legacy of Euro 2028 will be felt beyond host cities, particularly in EFL clubs and communities and constituencies like mine?
Can I thank him for that? He raises a really important point, and I couldn't agree with him more. Given that he's raised this point here in the Chamber today, I will ask my officials to design the programme to ensure that the benefits are felt, not just in Stevenage, but across the whole country.
Let's bring your centre forward on Jim Sharp.
Mr. Speaker, can I thank the Minister very much for that answer and for our enthusiasm for what we're bringing forward. But of course I want to make sure that Northern Ireland is very much part of that. I know the Minister will hopefully confirm that. Will Northern Ireland, being part of the host nations of the Euro 2028, will the Minister confirm what steps have been taken to ensure that we in Northern Ireland are an intrinsic part of the event and not simply an afterthought? After all, we are part of this great United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. We want to be part of it. Thank you.
He will remember that when we were first elected to government back in 2024, the Northern Ireland Secretary and I worked very hard to try to ensure that Northern Ireland was able to host part of the Games. Because of the timescales and because of the lack of action under the previous government, we weren't able to do that. But we made a firm commitment that Northern Ireland would feel the full benefit of these Games, and we are still deeply committed to that.
Shadow Minister Louis French.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I refer members to my register of interest. The successful bid to host the Euros in 2028, made under the previous Conservative government, has the enormous potential to economically and culturally benefit the UK, giving fans lifelong memory as football comes home. But to deliver a truly lasting legacy, the government must commit to protecting pitches, properly fund grassroots sports and stop taxing clubs into oblivion. So I ask the Minister again, will the government find a U-turn today on their proposed watering down of Sports England's crucial role in protecting grassroots pitches?
Look, can I thank him for that question? And he's absolutely right to say that the Euros should be a cross-party endeavour that commands the support of the whole House and will have significant economic benefits for the UK. We believe it will generate socio-economic benefits of £3.2 billion across the UK. But he's also right to say that there has to be a legacy of this for young people growing up in this country to have the opportunity to access sport. We've learnt the lessons from the way in which the last Conservative government squandered the legacy of the London 2012 Olympics and refused to cascade those benefits across the country. And we're making sure that we're investing in grassroots sport. He'll know that the Sports Minister and I recently announced £400 million worth of investment to that end.
Louis French.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Secretary of State criticises the previous Conservative government, but national sports bodies are fully aware that this Labour government has cut sports funding, increased regulation and taxes on clubs, and are putting at risk sports pitches across the country. But alongside these major own goals, the ongoing Whitehall ruck over how PE is funded risks reducing participation rates even further. This Labour government has already cut millions from the likes of the Opening Schools Facilities Fund and is overseeing a huge uncertainty of the schools games organisers network. So I asked the Secretary of State, what discussions is she having with other departments to ensure that children can continue playing sport both at school and in their community?
He will know that after the vandalism of the last Conservative government, where sports, art, music, dance, drama, all of those things that give young people the opportunities to live a richer, larger life, were downgraded on the curriculum and shamefully branded as Mickey Mouse subjects by a number of leading members of his parliament. We've put those back at the centre of the curriculum. I think he refers to school sports partnerships, which we're strongly committed to. And of course, I've had discussions with the Health Secretary and with the Education Secretary about that to make sure that we continue to fund it. It's something that the Prime Minister feels very strongly about, to make sure that every young person has the opportunity to participate in sports.
Question number 2, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you. The UK Government has consistently backed Glasgow 2026 as a positive outcome for the Games movement and for the UK. To support the Games, the Government is engaging partners to explore trade and investment opportunities around the Games to maximise the benefits for the whole of the UK.
Thank the Minister for her response. Having recently visited the Scottish Events Campus, the SEC, in my constituency, which will be hosting the opening ceremony along with a number of sports during the Games, I've seen firsthand the opportunity these Games represent for tourism, hospitality and local businesses. Given the importance these events have for Scotland and Glasgow's economy, what conversations is the Minister having with the Scottish Government and the Scotland Office to ensure the Games are a success for Glasgow and that Glasgow is well placed to attract further cultural and sporting events in the years ahead?
He asks an excellent question. I've regularly met with the Scottish Government, the Scotland Office, the organising company 2026 and, of course, Commonwealth Sport. Most recently, in January this year, I also attended an event in December and in August. My department is in regular contact with the organisers and all partners to support the Games and ensure it builds on Glasgow's world-class reputation for hosting major events. He's absolutely right. There's a huge opportunity, not just through sport, but the legacy economically and for the tourist industry.
Chair of the Select Committee, Dame Caroline Downage.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Now, many of our Commonwealth hopefuls started their careers in community events like park runs and local sports clubs, and yet the sports and recreation sector is in a state of utter confusion because of the government's chaotic rollout of the new rules on medical provisions. Now, the government have said, I'm going to quote, they didn't want small events over-regulated. What does that even mean? There is a wholesale lack of info from the Department of Health and Social Care and the CQC about who is impacted and what it's going to cost. And there's been no meaningful impact assessment. The government has warm words about local sports provision, but their actions never stand up to the test. So can this minister please give us a definitive answer?
Well, she makes a really important point. We are obviously, of course, keen to make it a success, and I'd be delighted to meet with her to discuss it further.
Jessica Tull.
Question number 3, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are committed to ensuring the UK remains the world's leading destination for film and television production. This ambition sits at the core of the Government's industrial strategy and the current creative industries sector plan, which recognise the sector's strength as a driver of growth. And every single 2026 Best Visual Effects Oscar nominee this year had work done in UK studios, including Bournemouth's own Outpost VFX on Sinners.
Jessica Tull.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as the Minister says, Outpost VFX is a world-leading VFX company based in my Bournemouth West constituency. They recently convened a meeting of sector leaders and the message was clear. The UK faces significant competitive disadvantage because of our relatively low net value incentive rates and the 10% total spend rule. As a result, we're missing out on work to overseas facilities and undermining job creation and skills retention here in the UK. So will the Minister commit to meeting with Outpost and other sector representatives to discuss their proposals to boost the UK's competitiveness?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to meet with representatives of the VFX industry, including Outpost and the Honourable Lady's own constituency. It's worth bearing in mind, Mr. Speaker, there's a whole host of visual effects tax reliefs in place, including 39% for that, to make it as competitive as possible in this country. I meet regularly and engage with the sector, including the UK Screen Alliance, because protecting our world-leading VFX sector base means ensuring skills keep pace with the eye and emerging technologies. We understand and acknowledge the significant implications on the sector for various pressures at the moment, but there are £10 million available through expanding apprenticeships into film and television school. £25 million will fund 5 new CoStar labs, and the Chancellor's £725 million for the next phase of the Growth and Skills Levy will also deliver new digital skills. All of that as a package goes alongside the tax reliefs, Mr. Speaker.
Sean.
Question number 4, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we recognise incidents of undue attention and harassment from the media cause significant distress to the public. We will always defend media freedom, but with this freedom comes big responsibilities. Publishers must operate ethically and within the bounds of the law. The Secretary of State has met families who have experienced press intrusion. We are now carefully considering the next steps to determine how to ensure public trust and accountability and news media is maintained and improved.
Sean Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last month, a national newspaper intruded on the privacy of one of the families bereaved by the meningitis outbreak, publishing information the family had asked to be kept private. In opposition, Labour promised independent regulation of the press to curb this awful behaviour. So when exactly will the Secretary of State keep that promise?
Hear, hear.
Mr Speaker, the Secretary of State has been very clear about this. She said in March at the Society of Editors Future of News conference, we will tread carefully and cautiously about regulation as any good right-minded government should. Fearless journalists must be able to hold government to account, but there are also concerns that people are turning away from news and losing trust, and the issues that she has mentioned in her question are very, very serious, and I'm happy to meet with her and those about those. But we as a government are closely following the trends in the media consumption. In an age of considerable increasing mis and disinformation, including press intrusion, we want to get this right.
Cameron.
Speaker, question 5, please.
So state.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This government believes strongly in the BBC, and recently I announced at the Society of Editors event that this charter review period, which is incredibly important, will be the last of its kind. We intend to ensure through this charter process, subject to Parliament's approval, that this charter puts the BBC on a permanent footing. So while the funding and terms of the BBC will continue to be renegotiated by successive governments, the BBC's right to exist will never again be called into question.
Cameron Thomas.
Speaker, Trump donor Larry Ellison and his son David own CBS News, will soon own CNN and part own TikTok. In 2024, Ellison Sr.'s Oracle paid a six-figure sum to Hanover Communications, for whom Michael Prescott was a managing director. 1 year later, Prescott's leaked internal memo landed the BBC a $5 billion lawsuit from Donald Trump. Rupert Murdoch and GB News founder Robbie Gibb know that when you own the news, you own the people. I believe our independent news broadcaster is under attack from within and without. How is the government going to protect it?
Well, as I said a moment ago, we intend to put the BBC on a permanent charter precisely because we believe that it is a vital and essential part of our democracy. It must be able to hold all of us to account without fear or favour, free from political interference. He alludes to particular appointments to the board. I do not have the power to change those appointments, but I do have the ability to review those through the charter review, which I will do. And when it comes to governments overseas, we will always defend the BBC's right to hold those in power to account, whoever they are.
Dr. Rupert.
British fans can travel to America safely, enjoy the game safely, and get back home safely.
He raises some particular concerns. I'm more than happy to look into those for him and make sure that everybody has the opportunity to go and participate in what should be a really positive and global sporting event. I have to say he has sparked some controversy on these benches, though, with his desire for England to bring football home, because while myself and the Sports Minister strongly agree with him, I'm afraid the Arts Minister has a different view.
Sarah Coombs.
Speaker, football fans in my area are looking forward to the World Cup and many hope to travel, but before we get there, many are very concerned by reports of a potential points deduction for West Bromwich Albion due to allegations of financial rule breaches, which the club has strongly rejected. Given Albion's recent run of 7 games unbeaten, keeping us just above the relegation zone, a points deduction sending us down would be heartbreaking for fans, particularly because the source of the issue seems to be a loan from the previous owners. Does the Minister agree that such a situation is awful for fans, and can she urge that it's resolved as quickly as possible?
Can I thank her for that question? And she will know that, having been through some very difficult times with my own superb football club, Wigan Athletic, I know how much this matters to people in West Brom, and I know what a great champion she is for them. This is precisely why we delivered the Football Governance Act, which clearly sets out the need to protect the integrity and sporting competitiveness of existing competitions, and I'm sure they will be looking at this closely.
The Democrat spokesperson has spoken.
Speaker, thousands of people across the country, possibly not the Arts Minister, are very excited for the World Cup this summer. But for many, that excitement is being ruined by the prospect of fans, not football, coming home. Under new US border directives, fans face having their social media history weaponised against them, with the threat of being turned away at the gates for as little as sharing an unflattering meme of President Trump. Would the Minister urgently meet with US counterparts to ensure British fans aren't denied entry at the border? And will she demand that the US Embassy pick up the tab for tickets and travel for any fan unfairly denied entry?
Can I thank you for that question? In the notes that I was given, it says that security and safety arrangements for major international sporting events are a matter for the host authorities. That is, of course, true, but the government can play a role. And can I reassure her and the member for Leicester South that I will personally make sure that we, as a government, are involved to ensure that fans are not deterred from being able to participate in what should be a really positive experience.
Kumar.
Number 8, Mr Speaker.
Sarah State.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My honourable friend is a great champion for young people in her constituency in Dudley, and she and I have had many discussions over the last 18 months as we have delivered the first national youth strategy in a generation, led and written by young people, to ensure that every young person in this country has somewhere to go, something to do, and someone who cares.
Sorry, Kumar.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Youth centres such as High Oak, run by Angela Edwards in Dudley, are finding it harder each year to stay open because of insecure funding, despite Dudley having some of the highest levels of young people not in education, employment or training. More youth centres and more secure long-term funding is desperately needed. What support can my right honourable friend provide to these youth centres and ensure the youth of today are supported and for the future?
So we have put £500 million behind the National Youth Strategy, and a major element of that will be to deliver the next generation of youth clubs and youth workers. There are too many youth clubs that exist around this country that are closed because there aren't people to run them. And there are too many parts of the country where there is no facility at all. The Youth Minister is very happy to discuss this further with my honourable friend to make sure that Dudley's young people are well served and that they have the provision that they need.
Dr Danny Chen.
Number 9, Mr Speaker.
Well, community spaces are hugely important, and the government recognises that, whether it be for social networks, community participation or civic pride. We, of course, debated community centres and small charities in Westminster Hall last month.
Dr Danny Chen.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. St John's Winchester Charity runs a brilliant community space for people with dementia, which I've attended myself and sung songs, including Motown, with them. And it's also one of the oldest charities in the UK. They provide almshouse houses for vulnerable people. They've been running for 900 years. They survived the plague, they survived the Civil War, which was particularly ferocious in Winchester, and they specifically cited the increase in employment costs as a reason they've had to deregister from the Care Quality Commission. What is the government doing to support charities that provide social care and health care? Because we know that if these charities struggle, the cost will go on to councils and the NHS.
The honourable gentleman, I'd like to join him in paying tribute to his local charity. Indeed, I'm a patron of a dementia charity in Barnsley myself. I do recognise the challenges faced by charities. That's why I hosted a number of them at number 10 with the Treasury Minister. I'd be delighted to speak to him further about this.
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As part of our creative industries, video games are identified as a priority sector in the industrial strategy. On Monday, we rolled out the Games Growth Package, a £30 million investment over 3 years, expanding the UK Games Fund and investing in the London Games Festival. We continue to maintain our stable and generous tax relief, recognising their role in supporting growth in the games sector and industry and wider creative industries. And according to estimates from the body UK, the value of the UK video game consumer market in 2025 was £8.8 billion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Norfolk is home to a thriving games development community, with Norfolk games developers supporting over 500 members through mentoring, skills and business growth, contributing to an SME survival rate way above the UK average. What steps is the department taking to ensure areas like Norfolk can access and shape the video games growth package, and will the Minister meet with me to discuss this further?
Mr. Speaker, it looks as if I'm meeting with my honourable friend about games rather than going to the Motown dancing in Eastbourne, but never mind. Delivering for all nations and regions, of course, remains a priority for this government. The UK Games Fund, which is based in Dundee, is a UK-wide programme available to studios and teams across the country, wherever they are. The funding provided to London Games Festival includes showcasing support for regional studios, enabling exposure to a greater audience, and I'd be more than happy to speak to my honourable friend to discuss those opportunities for Norfolk in more detail.
Christian Jolly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As the Minister knows, the video games industry is huge in Scotland. In fact, it's huge worldwide. It's bigger than the film and the television industry put together now. £188 million the Scottish industry is worth. But we've reached a point where we have identified a lack of business acumen amongst growing companies. And we need something perhaps like business hubs specifically for video games with centres of video excellence. So will the Minister speak perhaps to the Scottish Government about how this can be achieved to continue the massive growth we've seen?
Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend and neighbouring, almost neighbouring MP in Edinburgh is absolutely right. Scotland is one of the world leaders in video games, and we have to make sure we're harnessing that. The Games Growth Fund that I announced on Monday at the London Games Festival will make sure that we are nurturing new talent, we're helping people to get to that prototype stage, and that we're actually growing the sector to get that to commercialisation as well. That will be spread across the country, of course. Dundee is the key part of that. Rockstar in Edinburgh, which will be doing Grand Theft Auto 6, launch later this year, will be with the biggest launch of any audio-visual package anywhere in the world, and we're looking forward to that. But she's absolutely right. We have to nurture that talent, bring that pipeline of talent through.
Nick Smith. I've got to...
Number 11, please, Mr. Speaker.
The government believes in the power of grassroots sport. We have committed £400 million over the next 4 years and £85 million in this coming year. Of course, Sport England invests £250 million annually through Exchequer and lottery funding.
Nick Smith.
Can I thank the Minister for her answer? Mr. Speaker, can I declare an interest as the chair of the all-party group on parkrun? As the Minister knows, parkrun is a global phenomenon, and this year it's just celebrated its 21st birthday. There are currently over 1,300 parkrun events taking place across the UK every Saturday morning, including 2 in my constituency of Blaenau and Rumney. Given the benefits in terms of health and well-being, many of my constituents are NHS Couch to 5K graduates. Will the Minister please outline what discussions she's had with parkrun to support this excellent initiative?
Well, I thank the Honourable Member. I was pleased to meet with Parkrun alongside the Honourable Member a few months ago to mark their 21st anniversary, and I of course pay tribute to the huge impact they have, and indeed last year I joined him for the relaunch of Park Walk, a great example of how inclusive Parkrun is, and of course it wouldn't be possible without all of the volunteers. And if I may, Mr. Speaker, I would like to mention Oliver Smith from my constituency. I was pleased to run the Barnsley Park Run with the member for Barnsley North alongside Oliver Smith, Asian 9, who is running 9 marathons in 4 months to raise money for the Brain Tumour Trust following his dad's diagnosis. I would like to wish him luck completing his challenge next weekend at the London Mini Marathon.
Sir Ashley Fox.
Mr. Speaker, Sydenham Amateur Boxing Club does an incredible job working with young people in and around Bridgewater. They help teach not just boxing, but also discipline and control. Now, in order to help more young people, they want to expand and build a purpose-built gym. So will the Minister outline what support is available for grassroots boxing clubs like Sydenham to help them improve their facilities and help more young people?
Well, I thank the gentleman. It was a pleasure to meet him on a different subject earlier this week. I met with the all-party group for boxing recently. Absolutely welcome the points he makes. Agree with them. I'm keen to work with him to help to deliver that.
Thanks, Smith.
Number 12, sir.
Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are committed as a government to ensuring that tourism drives growth and jobs across the country, including in rural Buckinghamshire. He may have seen Visit Britain's Star in Great Britain campaign, where we have showcased the UK's film and TV locations to global audiences. And our upcoming visitor economic growth strategy will provide a long-term vision to boost visitors and deliver sustainable growth nationwide.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm grateful to the Secretary of State for that answer. And with people coming to Buckinghamshire to enjoy the beauty of our countryside, walking in the Chilterns, the tourism sector is important. But with the punitive levels of business tax hitting all of those businesses like camping at Orchard View or country retreats at Starville Farm, talk of a tourist tax and an overnight levy could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. So can she confirm that she is actively lobbying the Chancellor not to bring in such a levy?
The Minister, my honourable friend, the Minister, has, of course, discussed these issues with the industry. She's been holding several meetings with the industry as part of English Tourism Week and has also discussed this with colleagues in MHCLG and the Treasury. But I do want to say to him that the idea of a tourism levy is that it would be locally driven and led. So it would enable local areas to decide how they wanted to apply it, and that would be a matter for Buckinghamshire itself.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the heart of Weymouth, the Rectory is an iconic building, but it has stood empty for over a decade now. We want to transform the Rectory building into a cultural and visitor centre, hosting art, boosting the local tourism economy and welcoming visitors to Weymouth all year round. With this in mind, will the Secretary of State meet with me and all the key stakeholders so we can finally crack on and deliver the exciting Rectory proposals?
It does sound very exciting, and of course myself or the Minister and the Minister would be happy to follow that up with him and make sure that we can deliver on what sounds like a very, very exciting project.
Secretary of State, Nigel Thomas.
Thank you. Tourism and hospitality businesses across the UK are struggling. Once profitable businesses are now letting people go, not hiring or closing altogether as a direct result of Labour policies, in particular the national insurance increases. And that has led to 100,000 job losses in the UK in hospitality and tourism alone over the last 2 years. Now, the government has cut funding to our tourism bodies, is now planning on imposing more regulations on a whole new tourism tax. Can the Minister please explain how on earth less support, more regulations and higher taxes are meant to help the tourism industry?
Look, can I thank him for his support for the tourism industry, but can I say to him that although I recognise very much that the tourism industry has had significant pressures in recent years, particularly with the pandemic, I am very proud of our tourism industry, and I think it is second to none and delivering in every part of the country. It's why we've put the tourism industry at the centre of our attention with the visitor economy growth strategy. We see it as an area of great potential, and the Minister is working very closely with the industry to unlock the benefits for the whole country.
Good topic, Jonathan Brash.
Number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Since we last met, we have been delighted to celebrate the sporting success of our incredible Paralympic athletes, and we welcome the Brits to Manchester for the first time. We've made a multi-million-pound investment in the iconic Crucible Theatre in Sheffield, securing its future as a world-class venue for generations to come. And just this week, I announced almost £130 million to protect world-class theatres, museums and libraries in every part of our country. Taken together, this government is delivering on our promise that arts, culture, sport, dance, drama, music are not a luxury for the privileged or something to be consigned to a few postcodes. They must be for everyone, everywhere.
So for Brash.
Mr. Speaker, and I refer members to my register of interests. Swim England recently launched its report into the state of the nation's swimming facilities. The report, entitled The Deep End, clearly shows the crisis facing community swimming largely due to issues with funding and infrastructure. Now, while Hartlepool's brilliant Labour Council is delivering amazing new facilities in the form of the Highlight Leisure Centre opening in June, not every constituency is so lucky. So can I ask what steps her department is taking to improve access to swimming facilities in those areas where those facilities have been lost or are in danger of disappearing?
Can I thank him for this question, and I share his passion on this issue. We are also intensely aware that, as well as the sweeping cuts to local authorities that were made under the last government, that the rise in energy costs has significantly affected swimming facilities in every part of the country. We have committed £400 million to transform sports facilities over the next 4 years, and swimming ought to be a beneficiary of that. I will certainly make sure that it is. I've also discussed these issues with the Energy Secretary to make sure that we're pulling every lever at our disposal to ensure that swimming facilities are protected from some of the impacts of, particularly of war in the Middle East.
So, Secretary of State Nigel Huddleston.
Thank you. William Hill announced it's closing 200 betting shops as a result of Labour's tax policies making them unsustainable. This is Labour's decisions creating yet more unemployment and undermining sponsorship opportunities and the finances of the horse racing industry or overall. Now, Labour may not be as bad as the Greens or indeed Plaid, who I understand want to ban horse racing, £4 billion industry altogether, and I think greyhound racing as well. But can the Minister assure the racing and gambling communities that they will not do any more damage to these sectors which bring joy to millions of Brits every week?
Look, can I just, you know, in a rare moment of agreement, agree with him that the gambling industry does bring joy to a lot of people. He and I have discussed the harms that affect a minority of people. They are significant and important, but the industry as a whole brings positive benefits to the United Kingdom. But I think he is underplaying the significant pressures on high street businesses that have existed over the last couple of decades, something that, frankly, his government did absolutely nothing about over the 14 years that they were in government, and we are dealing with.
Christine Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituency of Bathgate and Linlithgow has always been a hotbed of musical talent and creativity. The newly approved Bathgate Music Club will be an excellent addition to community-run venues that support local musicians. Cooperative and community-owned models increasingly safeguard and grow live music venues. How does her department support these models so towns like Bathgate can fully benefit from community-run clubs and venues?
Minister.
Mr Speaker, can I start by paying tribute to all at the Bathgate Band who were responsible for the Bathgate Music Hub, particularly Derek Brown. Cooperative live music venues have benefited from the government's £150 million community ownership fund, enabling communities to take ownership of valued local cultural assets, but in England, not in Scotland. We have the Pride and Place programme, which is supporting 244 neighbourhoods across the UK. And yesterday we announced that the Creative Foundation Fund, again for England, has awarded £999,000 to music venue properties in England, a charity helping to conserve music venues to community ownership. I do have to say the Scottish Government has had the money through the Barnett formula, the spending review settlements through the Barnett formula. It's not clear how much they are spending on this particular area.
John Milne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
At a time when our rivers and seas aren't fit to swim in, the APPG on swimming reports that 1,200 pools have closed since 2010. In my constituency, a consultation by Horsham District Council shows strong community support for more investment. So given that 2/3 of pools nationally are already past their predicted lifespan, what support can the Minister offer to secure the future of community pools in addition to her remarks earlier?
Can I thank him for that? And obviously, a moment ago we discussed the importance of these facilities. Can I also thank him for the way in which he's approached this in securing community consent and demonstrating community consent for these issues? He will know that this government has changed the way that we fund so that it is community driven and led rather than imposed from the centre, and it is very welcome that he has taken that approach. One of the additional measures that we've taken, in addition to the answer that I gave a moment ago, is that we have backed local authorities who lead on funding for these issues with the first multi-year settlement in a decade, which will help them to ensure that they can better plan and better prepare to deliver on community needs.
Right, we'll let the front bench change over. We now come to questions to the Honourable Member for Battersea, representing Church Commissioners, and the Honourable Member for Blaw and Gwent, representing the Restoration and Renewal Client Board. We start with the first question, Kate Osborne.
Question number 1, Mr Speaker.
Church Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Church remains steadfast in its support for Palestinians. The Bishops of Southwark, Gloucester, Chelmsford and Norwich have publicly highlighted their concerns, condemning the increased settler violence and calling for the reopening of holy places. They have joined His Holiness the Pope and the local heads of churches who have called for protection of innocent civilians, offering sanctuary and working for peace and reconciliation and building inter-community trust. Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for her answer. For the first time in centuries, Catholic leaders were prohibited from entering the Church of Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem to celebrate a private Mass on Palm Sunday. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem called this a manifestly unreasonable and grossly disproportionate measure. In light of this incident, what concrete steps will the Church take to ensure that Christians and other religious groups are able to worship freely in Jerusalem?
Thank
you, Mr Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for her question. Now, the closure of the Holy Sepulchre by the Israeli government was totally unacceptable, Mr Speaker, and it was an unprecedented step, and representations by all churches were made at the highest level for this. The treatment of pilgrims and worshippers by the IDF, along with the additional movement restrictions across both Western and Orthodox Easter, were deplorable, particularly, Mr Speaker, in what is the holiest of weeks.
Sean Davis.
Two.
Should he called over?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Parishes across England run tens of thousands of community projects, including parent and toddler groups, holiday clubs, breakfast and after-school provision. Now, under its Vision 2020 strategy, the Church of England aims to double the number of children and young people in congregations by 2030. This is backed by £236 million over 3 years to support youth opportunities, particularly in low-income communities.
In Telford, the Church plays a key role supporting families, including by offering pastoral support and providing spaces for volunteers, such as Reverend Laura Lavender, Telford Minister, Reverend Andy Ackroyd at St Michael's Church and Joe Farnsworth at St Leonard's Church. What more will the Church do to support these churches and parishes in areas like Telford, which are fast-growing?
Mr Speaker, I would like to express my thanks and congratulate all those churches in my honourable friend's constituency, especially Reverend Laura Leonarder, Reverend Joe Farnsworth and Reverend Andrew Ackroyd for their work supporting families and young people in Telford. By opening their facilities throughout the week, they provide safe and welcoming spaces where young people can receive support and build strong relationships, demonstrating the Church at the heart of its community. I'm also pleased, Mr Speaker, to learn that Reverend Joe Farnsworth has been made the independent chair of the South Telford Pride of Place programme, and I look forward to hearing more about the work they are doing in the area.
Mark Pritchard.
But I'd ask the Honourable Lady if she would write to the local government minister, because I do think that some councils perhaps are a little bit timid when it comes to faith-based organisations. The Diocese of Lichfield and the Diocese of Hereford, which fall under the Wrekin constituency and partly in the constituency of Telford, do a fantastic job. But I think there is a problem between central government, local government and the Church of England communicating, sharing resources and actually delivering new services for young people together.
Motion to code.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the honourable member for his question. He highlights there the true value of how what can happen in our local communities when churches, local authorities and all other stakeholders work together. Yes, I will take him up and write to the local government minister to encourage that this kind of co-working relationship can happen in the honourable member's constituency.
Sir Desmond Swain.
Sir.
Motion to code.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, the Church engages with the Charity Commission on a range of issues, and the Church Commissioners have held informal discussions with them on Project Spire. And just to add also, Mr. Speaker, Project Spire is the Church's response to address their historic connections to the transatlantic enslavement of Africans.
Should launch a new charity? If so, when? And why the delay?
Motion to code.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, I could refer my honourable friend to the many written and oral questions and answers that I've given on this issue. As I've said, the Church are having informal discussions with the Charities Commission, and they are currently preparing an application, but it hasn't been submitted yet.
Postal.
Question 4, Mr. Speaker.
Motion to code.
Mr. Speaker, the Church is concerned about the growth of extremism, including Christian nationalism, and bishops have established a working group to promote unity and support parishes with theological, practical and pastoral resources to counter extremism locally.
Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I regularly meet with church leaders in my constituency of Woking, and one of the issues they often raise is the plight of Christians abroad. Please can the member assure me that this is one of the Church's top priorities to tackle extremism and tackle the plight, to tackle the persecution of Christians abroad?
Motion to code over.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the honourable member will know that this issue has come up about the persecution of Christians abroad, and it is something that obviously the Church takes quite seriously. As I highlighted in my initial answer to him, the Church have established a working group last year which seeks to provide support for bishops and senior clergy with relevant experience and reflection and a time for discussion. This group is also assessing the impact of the adoption of the misuse, should I say, of Christian language and imagery in political campaigning. But he is absolutely right to raise this important issue.
James Ashley.
Number 5, please, sir.
Motion to code over.
Mr. Speaker, it always feels like I'm getting my exercise in at church questions, I have to say. Right, OK. So, Mr. Speaker, throughout the community programmes, the Church provides a significant contribution to the local economy, totalling and amounting to around 55 billion. And this includes through food banks, warm spaces, credit unions, school clubs and other forms of family support. The Church recently welcomed the government's decision to end the 2-child benefit cap, and I know in my honourable friend's own constituency, 6,200 children will be lifted out of poverty as a result of that.
James Ashley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Child poverty is a major concern in my East London constituency, and faith and community organisations play an incredibly important part in supporting that. Whilst my constituency is very much multi-faith, the Church continues to play a hugely important part through its churches, schools, community facilities and experience. Can my honourable friend assure me that the Church will continue to work across faiths and with community and charity organisations to make sure that network of support that so many of my families in need rely on remains strong and when they need it?
Motion to code over.
Thank you. That's an excellent question for my honourable friend, and I can say yes, the Church works continuously to develop local churches together and interfaith networks, encouraging all faith communities to work collaboratively to support local communities, building support and strong networks. And the good example of this is in church schools, also in my honourable friend's constituency. They are community schools. They are offering opportunities to thousands of children each day through their vision for education. Life in its fullness is ensuring that all children are supported to study, to discover their talents and to grow and meet their full potential.
James Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Church Commissioner for her energetic contributions and answers to all the questions this morning. It's appreciated by every one of us. When it comes to tackling child poverty, of course, as an example, St Mark's Parish Church in Newton Ards in my constituency, they do a raft of programmes, and I know that the volunteers take a well-deserved summer break. Can the Church Commissioners indicate if there's any plans to have specialised youth clubs during the summer holidays to provide a safe, welcoming place for young people to meet that parents can afford to utilise and address the issue of child poverty? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend also for all his contributions at church questions. On the point of what takes place over the summer, I hope he doesn't mind if I say that I can write to him to update him on that.
Dr. Peter Prinsley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 6, please.
Motion to code over.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I say it's good to see the honourable member back in his place after his injury. I understand he was running with his children when it happened. But the new Places of Worship Fund, Renewal Fund, will be managed by Historic England. Kids. Oh, he couldn't keep up with his children.
Send for a doctor.
Apologies, Mr. Speaker. So the new Places of Worship Renewal Fund will be managed by Historic England on behalf of the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, and the fund totals 92 million over 4 years and supports capital repairs to listed places of worship. Priority will be given to buildings in the area of high deprivation or community needs, and applications are expected to start with an expression of interest followed by a full application with efforts made to minimise administration burdens on smaller parishes.
Dr. Peter Prinsley.
I thank my honourable friend for her answer. So, church leaders in Bury St Edmunds and Stowmarket are rightly concerned regarding the cancellation of the listed places of worship grant scheme. So could the Church Commissioner outline what conversations she's had with the government regarding the support and guidance given to those people who are concerned with the uptake of these churches in my constituency and across the country, for it is surely for our generation to preserve the legacy bequeathed to us by our forefathers.
The code over.
Indeed. So, Mr. Speaker, I can confirm that I have met on numerous occasions with the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, and most recently with the Heritage Minister just before Easter recess. Whilst we're still waiting for the government to publish more detail on the Vital scheme, and in my meeting with the Minister, but I also say it today, Mr. Speaker, I urge the government to get on and publish that. They need to do this at pace so we can give that certainty to our churches. But I will say to my honourable friend, in the meantime, while we are awaiting this guidance, his constituency churches, they can reach out to their diocesan buildings commission advisor for further advice, support and guidance on this issue.
Vicky Slade.
Mr. Speaker, you will be aware, Mr. Speaker, that Lib Dems are great at fixing the church roof. Yeah. But in Sturminster Marshall, the community are going far further with Project Welcome, which will repair and modernise the space, creating this warm, safe, accessible church integral to the community. The closure of the listed place of worship grant scheme means that costs have gone through the roof. They have raised 275 of a 360,000 target that they would have achieved without the VAT. So can she please confirm whether projects already underway will be eligible for the renewal scheme?
Motion to code over.
Thank you. And can I just place on record, Mr. Mayor, I think we all across this whole House are keen advocates for our local churches, as we all recognise that they are the cornerstones of our community, and so fixing roofs or whatever needs to be done to them, we are all hugely supportive of that. And she rightly highlights a really important point in relation to this scheme, and I will be happy to write to her about that.
Daniel Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 7.
Motion to code over.
Mr. Speaker, following the end of the existing listed place of worship scheme in January this year, and we are still awaiting details of the replacement scheme. And as I mentioned in my earlier answer to my honourable friend, I have met with the Minister recently, and obviously I pressed her that it's so important that that details of the scheme are published at pace. Church officials are working with Historic England at the moment on issues around operational and policy, but obviously we are waiting for the government to publish the guidance.
St Paulina's Church in Crayford and Christ Church in Bexleyheath are both Grade 2 listed churches and desperately need some of that investment to restore their buildings. So can my honourable friend outline any further news we may have in line with the previous questions on capital funding schemes going forward to help support churches like them?
Cordova.
Yeah, I thank my honourable friend for his question, and I hope that both St Paulina's Church and Christ Church will be eligible for the new places of worship renewal. I can't say it, Mr. Speaker, this morning. Right, for the new places of worship renewal fund. And so, whilst we await publication of further guidance, again, I will recommend to my honourable friend that they can also contact their local diocesan office for further advice and support. I would also be happy to write to him further about any additional support that may be available to the churches in his constituency. But also, just to, again, thank all colleagues for raising this really important issue, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. St Mary's Church in Old Town in Eastbourne is a Grade 1 listed church. It was built in the 12th century, but a recent survey has revealed that the roof and the east window are in urgent need of repair with a £500,000 restoration. Mother Arwen, the vicar of the church, therefore needs to know when the Places of Worship Renewal Fund will open, and I hope that the DCMS Minister on the front bench might be able to help us all to answer that. But in the meantime, the church is launching a fundraising appeal to try to bring community funds together to restore this church. Will the Church Commissioner come down to the sunniest town in the UK, Eastbourne, to come and visit the church and back our appeal that I'm one of the patrons of to restore St Mary's Church?
Mr. Speaker, how could I not accept such a wonderful offer to visit Eastbourne? And I will certainly try to do it. Let's try and do it around the tennis. That would be even better. But in all seriousness, it's really important that churches are given that certainty, and I do hope that the government are hearing the wishes of so many members across the House. It is so important that they publish the guidance of the scheme so that people can actually then continue to plan, but also raise those vital funds to repair the churches. These are our historic buildings. They are vital to not just for now, but also to future generations beyond us. So it's really important that the government get on and publish guidance for this scheme at pace.
Martin Rhodes.
Question number 8, Mr. Speaker.
Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to give my honourable friend, the Church Commissioner, a short rest this morning. Mr. Speaker, for restoration and renewal, there is under consideration the possibility of the House of Lords temporarily being based at the neighbouring QE2 Centre. The R&R programme has worked closely with the Ministry for Housing, Communities and Local Government, who are the freehold owner of the centre, and with the wider government to understand the implications of using the QE2 Centre as part of the programme. Direct engagement with the event sector to date has been restricted due to commercial sensitivities. However, information available suggests that conference centres across Westminster and the wider London area have sufficient spare capacity to accommodate displaced events.
Martin Rhodes.
I thank the honourable member for his response. I wish to put on record also in terms of my interest as chair of the APPG for events. Given the importance of the QE2 Centre in hosting many major international events and its direct economic value, including hundreds of jobs, thousands of hotel rooms and significant spend and investment across the wider supply chain, does he have concerns that significantly reducing capacity could negatively impact the ability to attract major business events to the UK and give advantage to our international competitors?
Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, can I thank him for his important question. He's right to emphasise the QE2 Centre's value to the UK events sector. However, I'm advised the evidence indicates that any displaced events could be accommodated by other conference centres in London, given the available spare capacity. So events, visitor spending and associated economic activity would be expected to transfer, Mr. Speaker, to alternative venues and their supply chains rather than being lost to international competitors. Given his expertise, can I suggest to him a meeting with our R&R officials who've looked deeper into this to hear his concerns in more detail and share their analysis on the matter?
Question 9, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The installation of the 106th Archbishop of Canterbury was a truly historic moment. We were all there to witness, indeed, the first woman Archbishop. And I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for representing the House at this important and momentous occasion alongside the Prime Minister.
And I'm joking. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And the people of Newcastle Lyme join me in welcoming Archbishop Sarah to her new responsibilities and wish her well. And we also give thanks for Bishop Michael and his service, who has announced his intention to stand down in September. The new Archbishop will have a long list to do, but can I ask the Commissioner what steps will be taken to ensure that vacancies at parish churches, for example, at St Mark's Brasford and St Margaret's Wolstanton, will be filled and filled quickly?
Mr. Speaker, the Archbishop of Canterbury sees herself as a shepherd of the flock, with 5 broad priorities: bringing confidence in the gospel, pastoral work, showing Christian hope, and offering hospitality, and being a faith and prophetic voice. Through her previous experience as a nurse, she cares deeply about pastoral ministry, and she is committed to growing the church and support parishes and ministries throughout her leadership.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many rural areas are served by clergy who are responsible for multiple parishes. Could I ask the Honourable Lady if she would urge the Archbishop to focus on providing more priests for our rural parishes?
Marshal de Cordova.
I thank the Honourable Member for his question, and I will certainly raise that issue on his behalf.
Martin.
10, Mr. Speaker.
Cordova.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Church of England supports small, often rural churches through targeted grants, practical tools and locally focused support. This includes the minor repairs improvement grants fund, net zero grants, free digital tools such as the MyFund accounting software, and parish giving ministry. There's also the Buildings for Mission funding, also supporting minor repairs with churches.
Madam Martin.
I want to thank my honourable friend for her answer. St Nicholas Hilsey in Portsmouth is not a rural church, it's actually in a city. And it's a low-income parish trying to replace a much-loved community hub that had to be demolished in 2020. They're facing a shortfall of £20,000 due to rising construction costs. What steps is the Commissioner taking to ensure that small parishes in deprived areas where no other community facilities are available are not left unable to fulfil promises that have been made to the local community?
Marshal de Cordova.
So the Diocese of Portsmouth has received £2 million to support parishes in low-income areas, and a further £4 million for clergy, lay leadership and church development. Now, parishes such as St Nicholas Hilsey can access the funding and support from the Diocese and the National Church Institutions team. And I understand the local Archdeacon has been in touch with my honourable friend's office about this particular case, and I'm also happy to follow up with her on this as well. But more broadly, Mr. Speaker, the Church has committed £4.6 billion between 2026 and 2034 to strengthen parish ministry and resources.
Charlie Dewars. Question number 11, Mr. Speaker. Marshal de Cordova.
Next minute.
The Church Commissioner gets another rest. Mr. Speaker, in February, the Restoration and Renewal Client Board reported costed proposals for the programme and a recommended way forward. The key recommendations are a Phase 1 works package and the preparation of temporary accommodation, including a long-term resilience commons chamber, and to reduce the number of delivery options from 4 to 2, with a decision on a preferred option required by 2030. Alongside the report, the R&R team has engaged with members of both houses at party group meetings, committees and briefings, and stands in Portcullis House and the Royal Gallery, with almost 400 interactions with fellow parliamentarians. The next step, Mr. Speaker, is for parliamentary debates where members of both houses can consider the Clients Board's recommendations and decide how to make progress.
Charlie Dewhurst.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, can I ask the honourable gentleman what assessment he's made of the so-called waterside option, which would see a floating pontoon built on the Thames with temporary chambers, allowing Parliament to access the rest of the estate during the refurbishment of this palace, and why that has not been included in the options, and why we are being left to choose between two lengthier and more costly options.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like other colleagues, I've read the waterside options too. The issue is there's a preferred option, which is that the Commons move to the Northern Estate and the House of Lords move to the QE2 Centre. And that's been proposed because of safety and value for money reasons.
Right, we now come to business questions. I call the Shadow Leader of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Leader of the House give us the forthcoming business?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The business for the week commencing 20th of April will include Monday the 20th of April, consideration of Lord's messages to the Victims in Courts Bill, followed by consideration of Lord's message to the Crime and Policing Bill. Tuesday the 21st of April, consideration of Lord's amendments to the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill. Wednesday the 22nd of April, if necessary, consideration of Lord's messages to the Pension Schemes Bill, followed by, if necessary, consideration of Lord's messages to the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, followed by, if necessary, consideration of Lord's message to the Crime and Policing Bill. Thursday, the 23rd of April, a general debate on the contribution of allied health professionals, followed by a general debate on reform of the Drivers and Vehicles Licensing Agency. The subjects for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday, the 24th of April, the House will not be sitting. And the provisional business for the week commencing the 27th of April includes Monday the 27th of April, if necessary, consideration of Lord's messages to the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill, followed by, if necessary, consideration of Lord's messages. Tuesday the 28th of April, consideration of Lord's messages. Wednesday the 29th of April, consideration of Lord's messages.
Justin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This, as you will know, and as the House will know, has been a week of sporting triumph. I think of the Lionesses World Cup qualifier 1-0 against the world champions Italy, or as it were, the former world champions Italy, I should say. Rory McIlroy defending his Masters title, another great moment. Whether or not you play, watch, or even like golf, it was an extraordinary, gripping achievement. And from Northern Ireland to boot. An honest man facing his demons and triumphing. What a contrast with the Prime Minister's failure to answer or even to engage with the question at Prime Minister's questions. The last 4 Prime Minister's questions, Mr. Speaker, have focused on the Iran war, fuel duty, North Sea oil and gas, and the defence review. Of the 24 responses given by the Prime Minister to the Leader of the Opposition, 23 have ignored the question and changed the subject. Yesterday, we even saw the Prime Minister hectoring you, Mr. Speaker, in your chair and on live television just for doing your job. That is a shameful record for which the Prime Minister should write to you and therefore, by implication, to this House and apologise. This behaviour is contemptuous, Mr. Speaker, of you, of the Leader of the Opposition, but of us all as MPs now and in years gone by. Our job, however imperfectly we may do it, is to pursue the truth on behalf of those we represent. If we give that up, then heaven help us. And it is the Prime Minister's job to answer and to hold himself accountable for those answers. No Prime Minister likes to do that, but those are the rules. If the Prime Minister doesn't like the rules, if he doesn't want to offer honest answers, if he is not up to it, then he should step back and let someone else do the job instead. So I thank you, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of all of us, for maintaining the traditions of this House. And I ask the Leader, first of my 3 questions today, if he shares my view that this behaviour is wholly inappropriate by the Prime Minister and disrespectful of this House. But this is just part of a wider problem of accountability and disrespect for Parliament, Mr. Speaker. My noble friend, the Lord Gilbert's parliamentary question of 16th of March asked the Government about authorised budget briefings to the media. Lord Livermore replied on the government's behalf, consistent with these principles, there are occasions where the government will trail and or announce policy ahead of a budget to provide context and help the public understand major fiscal events. Mr. Speaker, this is nonsense. The rules are perfectly clear. Major events must be announced first to this House. To do otherwise is a breach of the rules of this House, a flagrant violation of the Ministerial Code and a contempt of Parliament. Previous governments, as we all know, have done this on occasion since 1997 at least. And previous Chancellors of the Exchequer have been fired for inadvertent briefings to the media before a budget. But never before has it been a government's declared policy to ignore Parliament. The deeper constitutional point is, of course, that in our representative government system of government, the people is Parliament and Parliament is the people. Nothing good can come out of the attempt to undermine the British Constitution by this means. So I ask the leader, secondly, to comment on this and to set out what he will do to get this policy of non-announcement of major measures withdrawn and revoked. And finally, Lord Robertson. He spoke of corrosive complacency of current political leadership, of putting our country at risk. He said, and I quote, "We cannot defend this country with an ever-expanding welfare budget. No one has more experience and expertise in defence across the whole of Parliament in both chambers." This man, the noble Lord Robertson, was a political activist for Labour since 1961. Just think of that, Mr. Speaker. The last person one could imagine wanting to offer public criticism of a Labour Prime Minister, let alone in these terms. A man Labour to his boots, but a patriot first. It's impossible to blame previous governments for this, Mr. Speaker. This government, this Prime Minister, created the Defence Review and they created the Defence Investment Plan. No one else. It is their choice and their decision. And it matters because in every constituency across this country, there are companies wanting to know what the government has decided, waiting for leadership. They need to know the numbers, they need to know the commitment, and of course, our adversaries need to know that we are serious in our resolve and see the measure of that seriousness. And my great fear, perhaps it is also Lord Robertson's great fear, is that the government will never publish this document, or they will do so in a completely insubstantial and lightweight way, and that 10 months of delay will end in nothing. It will all have been a colossal waste of time and energy. So let me say, finally, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister on this has been utterly hopeless. He told the Liaison Committee weeks ago the document was on his desk, yet nothing has happened. I leave it to colleagues to judge the truth of his remarks. So I ask the leader, thirdly, if he will give this House a cast-iron guarantee on behalf of the government that the Defence Investment Plan will be published and not simply shelved and forgotten. The one-year anniversary is in July.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. And first of all, Mr. Speaker, may I say that my thoughts are with our servicemen and women currently serving in the Middle East, and as the situation unfolds, our highest priority is to ensure the safety of our people in the region. My thoughts are also, Mr. Speaker, with those affected by the terrible attempted attack on the Finchley Reformed Synagogue. And I'm sure the House will join me in thanking the police and emergency services for their swift action. And also, Mr. Speaker, this week has seen the 37th anniversary of the disaster at Hillsborough. And my thoughts are with the family and friends of those who died. And as the Prime Minister reaffirmed yesterday, the government is committed to delivering legislation and introducing a duty of candour across all public services. And Mr. Speaker, I also want to pay tribute to Lord Jeremy Beecham. Lord Beecham was an incredibly influential and dedicated politician who was respected across the political divide. And his dedication to the city of Newcastle has changed the city into what it is today. And I know the whole House will join me in sending condolences to his family and friends. Mr. Speaker, during recess we published our plan to halve knife crime, and at the core of that plan is prevention, providing safe spaces in communities and supporting schools and families to address root causes. Mr. Speaker, this means giving an alternative path to young people and will, in future, literally save lives. In terms of other announcements, we've also announced our intention to invest £237 million to expand community diagnostic centres across England. 4 CDCs will open, 17 will be expanded and 15 will receive enhancements to boost diagnostic capacity and get patients seen quicker. And this means that patients are able to get swifter results, which is really important, and also get them closer to home, which again is important. And also, Mr. Speaker, this week over 500 new free breakfast clubs began to open their doors, helping parents with the cost of living and giving children a healthy start to the day. I want to turn now to the remarks of the shadow leader. And if I may, Mr. Speaker, I'll deal broadly with his first 2 questions together. Because he refers to the Prime Minister's, the way in which the Prime Minister addressed the questions that were put to him yesterday. And also, secondly, announcements made by outside of this House, and whether or not the House should be the first to hear. Let me address those 2 questions first and say that the honourable gentleman has been here a very, very long time. He cannot, well, a long time, put it that way. Not as long as me, but a long time. OK, he's been here a long time. And frankly, we've both been here long enough to know better than ask the questions which he has been asking there, because I know why he's doing it, and at the heart of it, I understand exactly what the point is here. But all Prime Ministers deal with Prime Ministers' questions in their own way. But it isn't unusual for any Prime Minister, it isn't unusual for any Minister not to give the answer that the opposition want on a particular day. So let's not kid ourselves, Mr. Speaker, that we're entering a new chapter in this. And when he talks about announcements to the House, he actually said that the previous government, on occasion, made announcements outside of this House. On occasion. I think it was on occasion that they actually made the announcements in this House. But the serious point here, and I will address this serious point here, I am absolutely clear, and I've said from this dispatch box before, that serious announcements should be made at the earliest convenience in this House. And they should be made in this House. But we also understand that we do politics is done in a different environment to the way that it was done a decade or 2 decades before. And to some extent, it's a moving environment, and government is working in that environment too. But I do take his point, and I have said that announcements should be made in this House at the earliest opportunity. Let me now turn to the comments of Lord Robertson and say that the Prime Minister made his and the government's view clear on this. But the honourable gentleman asks about the defence plan. The defence plan will be delivered, and this House will have an opportunity to debate that plan. I do accept that it has taken longer than perhaps any of us would have wished. And let me give you 3 reasons, Mr. Speaker, the House, Mr. Speaker, 3 reasons why that should be so. The first is that we inherited a defence budget which was totally out of control and had been mismanaged for the past 14 years. It had been, in the words of a previous Defence Secretary, hollowed out. And that wasn't a previous Labour Defence Secretary, it was a previous Conservative Defence Secretary. So that's the first reason why this takes time to put right and turn around. The second reason is, and the honourable gentleman, I think, knows this because he's a very distinguished member of the Defence Select Committee. The second point, Mr. Speaker, is that we inherited an economic mess. And if you're going to put defence right, you've got to have the money to put it right. And again, the honourable gentleman understands this, Mr. Speaker, because he has admitted in all but words in this place that he's a secret Keynesian at heart, and he knows, he's admitted it, he's owned up to it, don't worry, he's owned up to it. The point of this, Mr. Speaker, is that he understands, as most people understand, that our economic inheritance was absolutely appalling. And we have to get that right too before we can press ahead with our commitments to properly fund defence. And the third point which is relevant here is that the absolutely botched Brexit deal left us diplomatically isolated, Mr. Speaker, and the Prime Minister has invested, personally invested, a great deal of his time and energy to build alliances with our allies, not least in Europe, and those alliances are important as we look at the question of defence in a moving international situation, as we look at where defence will be as we move forward. And what I cannot accept, Mr. Speaker, is the analysis or the suggestion by the Leader of the Opposition that somehow at the election it was day zero. Nothing happened before which has any impact on the way in which this government is forced to face up to those difficult decisions. So we will, Mr. Speaker, publish the plan. There will be an opportunity to debate it. But let me finish on this point. I do understand the point that he makes about companies, and obviously there needs to be some certainty. But let me just rid him of this suggestion that everyone is waiting for announcements and nothing is happening. There are contracts being issued all of the time. And let me finish on this point, Mr. Speaker. More than 80% of those contracts in the last 2 years have gone to British companies, which is in stark contrast, Mr. Speaker, to the performance of the last government.
Kim Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Stephen Yaxley Lennon is urging his followers to behave ahead of the United Kingdom march on the 16th of May. The Met Police have allowed the fascists the freedom to march in central London. By contrast, the organisers of the annual Nakba March, who provided the Met details last December, are still waiting to have their route approved. The previous United Kingdom march erupted in unacceptable levels of violence, unlike the hugely popular and peaceful anti-genocide marches. The treatment of these two groups by the Met is stark and biased. Can the Leader of the House find the time for a debate on the alarming rise of the far-right activity on our streets?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I know that my honourable friend is a keen campaigner on these matters. And I'm sure that the Met Police will have heard her comments today. I have to say, Mr. Speaker, where there is a threat of a demonstration turning to violence or disorder, then the Met Police have a responsibility to take that very seriously indeed, even if it takes a while to agree how that march will take place, or indeed whether it will take place or not. It doesn't matter which part of the political spectrum it comes from. What matters is security on our streets, and we trust the Met Police to get on with that.
Wendy Chamberlain, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And can I start by wishing my honourable friend, the member for Carshalton and Wallington, all the best for his parental leave. Sadly, I have no news, particularly for his wife, to update the House with, but I hope to be able to do so in due course. Mr. Speaker, I would like to draw particular attention of the House this week to the devastating civil war in Sudan, which sadly entered into its fourth year just yesterday. This is the world's worst humanitarian crisis, with over 29 million Sudanese facing acute food insecurity. Now, earlier in the parliamentary session, the Prime Minister, in response to a question on Sudan from my right honourable friend, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, said he does not think we discuss it enough in this House. So will the Leader of the House act in the spirit of those words and ask the Foreign Secretary to give a statement on the conflict next week and include an update to the House on her discussions at this week's Berlin conference? And Mr. Speaker, we also continue to reel from news emerging from the Oval Office. And I must confess that I did not have the President of the United States labelling the Pope as weak on crime on my 2026 bingo card. But given recent events, perhaps I should have done. And his latest AI image released last night of him embracing Jesus Christ reminded me of the immortal words of Brenda from Bristol in April 2017, not another one. But in all seriousness, Mr. Speaker, Trump's chaos is having real impacts here in the UK and in my own constituency of North East Fife. His reckless war in the Middle East is hitting families up and down the country, in the pocket and at the fuel pumps. So will the Leader of the House schedule a debate in government time on the economic impact of Trump's war and include a consideration of Liberal Democrat proposals for a 10p fuel duty cut? Other countries are providing that certainty on fuel duty now. Isn't it time that the government did likewise?
Leader. Mr. Speaker, may I join my honourable friend in wishing well to the honourable member for Carshalton and Walton, and we do await news with bated breath. At least you might get the nursery finished by the time of the arrival. She makes a serious point about the Sudan civil war, and the government is doing everything that we can, not just to help to address the humanitarian situation, but also to try to get an end to that war. We have committed £146 million in aid to Sudan. We've sanctioned RSF commanders. We're doing everything that we can, but I join her in hoping that the conflict ends soon, and we're not shy of updating the House on this matter, and we will continue to do so, and I will draw her attention to the Foreign Secretary. In terms of, I'm not going to comment on, in terms of the President of the United States comments and the effect that it is having, because I think we can see that play out not just in her constituency but elsewhere as well. The real answer from the government is that we are absolutely focused on doing everything that we can in the national interest to see if we can ensure that the ceasefire continues, but also to bring an end to the conflict too. And she's right to point out that this is a very serious an economic situation too, possibly the most serious energy crisis in the last half century. And the economic impact may well be felt, beginning to be felt, and may continue for some time. Again, there are lots of suggestions about what we might do. The government is absolutely focused on this. We're not going to rush to judgment about action that we need to take now. We've already taken some targeted measures, not least on heating oil, but we're absolutely focused on that, and be reassured that we will continue to do so. We're looking at all of that, and I'm sure, again, because we're not shy of doing this, that when the opportunity arises, that there will be an opportunity for further statements on these matters. And I hope that the House can come together, not just to ensure that we have a firm view on going forward in the international situation, but also how we can combat the economic issues that are going to, I'm afraid, are likely to continue for some time.
Grassroots.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the 28th of April is going to be Staffordshire Day across the Houses of Parliament, and there will be a marketplace in the Jubilee Room from 12 till 2, and there'll be Staffordshire oatcakes in the tea room for breakfast. So could I, through a question to the Leader, invite the whole House to come and sample some of the delicacies of what I think is the greatest county, after Lancashire, of course, Mr. Speaker, in the country. But on a serious note, would the Leader consider holding a debate in government time on the importance of county identities? With local government reorganisation on the forefront, those county identities are very important, and how we bolster them as we look to the future with our new councils.
Leader. It's a tempting offer, and I would encourage the House to support my honourable friend's efforts to demonstrate what a fantastic part of the country that he represents. I share his view about counties and county days. They are very important indeed, and I can't offer him government time to do this, but if he seeks application to backbenchers or even a Westminster Hall debate, I'm sure that people who represent counties right across the country will come and share his view about how important county identities are.
And we'll fly the flag for Staffordshire. Bob Blackburn, Chair of the Backbench Committee.
Bring back Middlesex, I say. On behalf of the Backbench Business Committee, can I remind the Leader that there's the promised motion which we await on changing standing orders for the election of the Backbench Business Committee for the new session. In addition to the business announced by the Leader, next Thursday there'll be select committee statements from the Environmental Audit Committee and the Housing Committees and Local Government committees in the Chamber. On the business in Westminster Hall, Tuesday the 21st, we'll see a debate on the independent, the need for an independent national review body overseeing wheelchair provision. On Thursday the 23rd, there'll be a debate on access to education and training for young adult carers, followed by a debate on gambling advertising. On Tuesday the 28th, there'll be a debate on government support for park homeowners. Now, Mr. Speaker, I managed to get a private member's bill through this place, namely the Supported Housing Regulatory Oversight Act 2023. We are still awaiting the implementation of that Act, And that means that vulnerable people are being exploited by rogue landlords. I understand from the department they've now completed the consultation on the regulations to implement the Act, but it's likely we're not going to see the implementation until 2027. So could the leader arrange for a statement in this place sometime next week on what exactly the government's doing on implementing this Act, which is a cross-party Act which we've introduced? And if there's no statement, Mr. Speaker, can I urge you to allow me an adjournment debate on the subject?
Leader, see what he says.
That's quite a bid, Mr. Speaker, isn't it? I've not heard that one before. Let me thank the honourable gentleman for his work and the work of the committee and for updating us on the work going forward. He mentioned the standing orders. There are a number of standing orders that we are bringing forward, as he knows, around the work of his committee, and the commitment that I made is that we would do it before the end of this session. And I can tell him that we are committed to sticking with that. I can't give him the exact day, but I am committed to doing that, and therefore that is what we will do. Let me turn to his other question about his private member's bill, and again congratulate him, because I do remember the way in which he achieved that, and it was quite an achievement. I'm sorry to hear that it has not had the effect yet, which had been anticipated. I know that, however, he's remained an assiduous campaigner on these matters. I think he's met ministers and he continues to press. And I hope, because I can't guarantee him time in government time, so I hope that you will listen carefully to his plea, Mr. Speaker, and then he can hear directly from the Minister about what the plan is going forward. But in the meantime, I will take it up with the Minister, because, as he points out, this is not just his concern, it's a concern of a number of people across this House.
Sean Davis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, Telford experienced a major fuel tanker fire in Newdale near a primary school, affecting many children, families and staff. I'd like to thank Shropshire Fire and Rescue Service for their swift action together with other blue light services, but in particular, Mr. Speaker, to Rachel Cook, Newdale's primary school head teacher. Of course, the children themselves, their fast action, but the way in which the community rallied around those children to get them away from danger, including Pure Gym, the Grazing Cow Public House, Lawley Academy, Lawley Nursery and Morrison's. Can we have a debate in government time about the importance of community resilience? And will the Leader of the House join me in thanking everybody for supporting that community effort to ensure that those children were safe?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my honourable friend is absolutely right to bring this matter to the House today, and I will absolutely join him in congratulating and thanking everyone who supported the response to this and ensured the safety of the local community, including Ms Cook and then all the others that he mentioned. The contribution of emergency first responders has been raised with me on a number of occasions, and I'd like to encourage my honourable friend to apply for a debate on this, a Westminster Hall debate, so that he can, and I'm sure others will join him, so that he can raise these issues in greater detail.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Wick, in my Bognor Regis and Littlehampton constituency, over 1,000 local residents have raised concerns with me about unfair and confusing parking charges. These are deterring shoppers and damaging local businesses. Can we have a statement from the Secretary of State on the delay to the revised private parking code of practice?
Leader. This is a frustrating issue, I know, for a lot of people. Not least in my constituency too, and it's a bit of a moving target for things like legislation, but I will draw it to the attention of the Secretary of State and see where we can get to on this.
Justine Sullivan.
Mr. Speaker, last month I attended a celebration to mark the 40th anniversary of the reopening of Bathgate Railway Station in 1986 as part of efforts to regenerate the local economy. More than 80 passenger trains travel through Bathgate Railway Station every day now between Edinburgh and Glasgow, playing an important role in supporting connectivity and economic growth. Will the Leader of the House join me in congratulating all those who campaigned for the reopening of the station and commend the volunteers, including Bathgate Community Council, who brought people together to celebrate the occasion?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll absolutely join my honourable friend in congratulating Bathgate Railway Station, all of its staff and all of the volunteers who helped bring the celebration together, and particularly, Mr. Speaker, to mention volunteers because they play such an important part across our local communities. It is vital that communities have access to joined-up transport systems, and the government has recently announced the Better Connected strategy for England, so we are on the side of the people that she's talking about.
Sir Roger Gale.
Mr. Speaker, many members of this House, including very possibly yourself, sir, will have received communications from retired civil servants who are facing personal and financial distress as a result of the failure of Capita, the company involved in handling the pensions, to deliver properly. Would the Leader of the House be good enough to write to the Cabinet Secretary to ask him to get a grip, sort out this mess, and seek to ensure that Capita receives no further government contracts of any kind until this matter is fully, finally and satisfactorily resolved?
Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as has been raised on a number of occasions in this session, I'm sure beyond, the government is absolutely of the view that these delays are unacceptable. It's not the service that people deserve, and resolving it is a matter of utmost urgency. And there is an urgent recovery plan underway, and there are loans available in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, to provide immediate financial support where it is needed. But I will, as the Right Honourable Gentleman reasonably requests, I will write to the Cabinet Secretary and make her aware of the situation and get an update for him.
Samantha Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recently met with an incredible woman, Rachel Liu, a constituent of mine who's actually joining us today in the gallery, following the devastating loss of her 5-year-old son, Sam, in 2021. She has channeled unimaginable grief into extraordinary action. Sam's death was due to fires, febrile infection-related epilepsy syndrome, a rare condition within NORSE, new onset refractory status epilepticus, I'm sorry for saying that wrong, Rachel, which can suddenly strike previously healthy children and remains poorly understood. Through her charity, Sam's Superheroes, Rachel supports families, raises awareness and funds vital research. Will the Leader of the House help secure a meeting with the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care to discuss increasing funding, improving research coordination and strengthening clinical support for families facing this catastrophic condition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honourable friend raises a very serious matter, and I join her in thanking Rachel for her dedication to this issue following her tragic loss, and for the work of Sam's Superheroes. I join with my honourable friend in awe, Mr. Speaker. I simply don't know how parents cope with the loss of a child, let alone to then go on and campaign. It is remarkable what some people are able to do. Mr. Speaker, through the UK Rare Diseases Framework, the government does remain committed to improving the lives of people with rare diseases, including conditions such as fires. And I will commit to helping my honourable friend arrange the meeting with the Secretary of State to discuss the matter in detail, the meeting that she requests.
Mr. Smart.
Mr. Speaker, next week sees the funeral of my constituent Bob Humphrey Taylor. Bob was a pillar of our community, and he was the driving force behind so many projects across Mellor and Marple, especially those with links to our industrial heritage. He was also often dressed as the 18th century industrialist Samuel Oldknow and the owner of the most remarkable moustache I've ever seen out in the wild. He was a champion of our campaign to seek World Heritage Site status for our canals, our famous Lochfly and England's highest aqueduct. Could we have a debate in government time, setting us up for the next round of World Heritage Site applications? It would be a fitting legacy for Bob and all of those who've done so much in my community to celebrate our industrial heritage.
Mr. Speaker, and can I thank the Honourable Lady for that question and join her in paying tribute to Mr. Taylor and everyone involved in the work that she is talking about. These people are the backbones of our community, and we rightly celebrate our industrial heritage. It is so important. I will write to the Secretary of State and see what the plan is going forward and make sure that the Honourable Lady is updated.
Neil Coyle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hundreds of constituents on Acanthus Drive, Abercorn Way and King's Close face eviction threats, rent hikes and pressure to sign weaker tenancy agreements from their landlord, Freshview and freeholder BMR St James. Thankfully, they have the support of Andy Bates and my South Bermondsey team, our Labour Council, Southwark Law Centre and myself. But will the government provide time to debate penalising rogue landlords and practices like this, especially given new rights of renters coming from our government in May?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I thank my honourable friend for his work in this regard, because we celebrate the Renters' Right Act, which is the biggest reform to renting in a generation, but we also realise that there are still more that can be done. The Government, Mr. Speaker, stands firmly on the side of renters, and I will make sure that the Housing Secretary has heard my honourable friend's concerns and certainly give consideration to his request for a debate at some point in the future. But I'd also like to point out, Mr. Speaker, it's not just about the excellent work of my honourable friend in this regard. It's the very good work done by Southwark Council, and I hope that residents appreciate that.
Mark Pritchard. Mr. Speaker. Chapter 4, paragraph 23 of the North Tyneside Local Development Plan talks about protecting the green belt. And that includes the Leader of the House's constituency. He will know he has green belt in his constituency in the north. So given I'm sure he shares my concern about overdevelopment, of which that chapter refers to, would he join me in supporting my constituents in Brighton in Shropshire that have seen a speculative development for 800 houses on Greenbelt, recently thrown out by Shropshire Council, now going to appeal? But is it not the case that my constituents, like his and many members in this House, are not against housing? We're just against housing on the Greenbelt. And it has to be in the right place, at the right scale. And this government, unfortunately, sees more concern about sitting on a bulldozer, bulldozing through Shropshire's Greenbelt, than getting that housing balance right.
Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't always do this with the honourable gentleman, but I disagree with him on his analysis of where we've got to with this matter. I do agree, however, that there should be a voice for residents, but there should also be rights and responsibilities for local authorities, because it is a difficult line that they walk. And we do need to protect, wherever we can, our environment. But as he recognises, it is a difficult line that we walk because our residents need more houses. And housing is a good thing in driving the economy, provided the protections that are in there are available to protect the areas that he's talking about. But it is frustrating for residents, I understand, including, as he points out, my own constituents. But they also, at the same time, realise that there's a housing shortage in our country and that housing in many areas is at a premium. And therefore, frankly, we need to get on with it and build some new houses.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know you, like I, are incredibly passionate about youth services, and my constituents are very concerned that Staffordshire, under the last Conservative-led local authority, faced the third worst youth service cuts in the country. And while I welcome the new government report, the National Youth Strategy and the £500 million being invested in youth services, the first wave of those hubs announced is concentrated on cities. So would the leader guarantee a debate in government time on towns and their youth services, which have been so decimated under Conservative-led authorities?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my honourable friend will have heard, Mr. Speaker, her remarks have been well received on our side, because there's an acceptance that youth services are vital to the importance of the futures of young people. The reality is that there wasn't a youth strategy when we came to office. We have one, and it has been drawn up by young people. And we're also doing everything that we can to tackle what the effect of the closure of more than 1,000 youth centres under the previous government. I will raise the matter with the Culture Secretary and make sure that my honourable friend gets a response. But can I also put on record, Mr. Speaker, my thanks to my honourable friend for her brilliant work as my PPS. I understand her reason for not wanting to continue it. I hope it's nothing that I hope it's nothing that I said. No, but I do understand exactly her motivation for doing that. But I just want to put on record my sincere thanks. She was absolutely fantastic.
Gideon Amos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Anyone who attended the National Emergency Briefing, like I did on 27th of November, cannot help but have been captivated by the international expertise on show about the effects of the climate and nature crisis on everything from food security, national security, to all aspects of British life. Isn't it time, therefore, Mr. Speaker, that the Prime Minister responded to the cross-party a call for a nationally televised national emergency briefing? And will the Leader of the House arrange for a statement to be made by the Prime Minister in this House to accept the need for the public to really understand and hear about the genuine effects of the climate and nature crisis?
Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the honourable gentleman mentions things like food security, the climate crisis, and he will know that the effects of the current instability in the international situation has brought this into starker focus. I will give consideration to what he says, but I have to say that the Prime Minister is absolutely focused on matters like food security going forward, because we understand that it is a particularly turbulent time, and he's entirely focused on that matter to make sure that we are resilient and that we do emerge from this not by getting back to some kind of normality, but being in a much stronger position when we come out of the current situation than we have been in previous crises.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are almost 26,000 unpaid carers in Bolton, providing vital support to individuals across the borough who would otherwise struggle to manage. Will the Leader of the House join me in thanking the hard-working staff and volunteers at local charity Bolton Carers Support, including Melanie and Georgette, who I met in Horwich earlier in the month, who provide much-needed support to carers? And will he acknowledge the vital work done by unpaid carers to support my constituents across Bolton, Blackrod, Horwich and West Midlands?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government recognises the vital role of unpaid carers and is absolutely committed to ensuring they have the support that they need, not least through increasing the weekly carers allowance limit. And I absolutely join my honourable friend in thanking Georgette, Melanie and all the hard-working staff and volunteers at Bolton Carers Support and across the country.
It's just been announced that the last NHS dentist provision in Towcester in my constituency will be withdrawn on the 1st of August 2026. Now, this represents a significant loss, especially in a rapidly expanding town and also with no other NHS dentistry provision around for miles. Now, I've written to the ICB, but I'm also writing to the Minister of Health to ask for a meeting and to ask what other NHS services are available. And I'd just be grateful if the Leader could see that the department paid due attention to that letter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the honourable lady raises issues again that have affected a number of constituencies across the country, not least my own. And this government is doing everything that we can to ensure that there is provision and access to services, not least through dental hubs. But she's done the right thing in writing to the Minister, and I will follow this up by also raising it with the Minister.
Laura Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the Government's decision to introduce a cap on student loan interest rates for Plan 2 borrowers, an important step towards easing the financial burden on graduates. But my constituents continue to raise with me how unfair the system is, with the significant financial pressure from the repayment terms and thresholds that have continued to increase despite the rising costs. So will the Leader of the House ensure that time is made for further debate on student loan reform so that we can consider further action to make sure that system is fair?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have taken action to improve the system that we inherited in trying to make it fairer for students, graduates and taxpayers. Interest on Plan 2 and Plan 3 student loans will be capped at 6% from this September until August 2027. And in the long term, we're looking for ways to improve the system and to make it fairer, particularly for students and graduates from low-income backgrounds. Mr. Speaker, the Treasury Committee is currently looking into this matter, and I'll certainly give consideration to my honourable friend's plea to make sure, perhaps when that report comes out, that this matter is debated.
Mr. Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The residents of Cheddar suffer weekend misery of thoughtless, antisocial drivers who come from across the country to meet in Cheddar Gorge. Not all the drivers are careless, but having been contacted by well over 100 residents, many of whom fear for their lives as the result of the impact of often dangerous driving when drivers leave and come into the village, can the Leader of the House ask the ministers, perhaps for policing, transport, local government and anyone else who might be able to do something, to consider how their agencies might work together to enable the various authorities to bring peace to the residents in this village? It's a beautiful place and it's ruined by this most weekends.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry to hear of the experiences of residents in the Honourable Lady's constituency. The government did bring forward a road safety strategy, but as she points out, it is more than just a question of road safety, it is about policing too. So I will draw it to the attention of the relevant ministers and see if there's a way forward.
Ellie Jameson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent Lisa Theobald suffered the unimaginable loss of her son Ryan, who was killed at just 20 years old when he was stabbed one evening in Doncaster city centre in January 2022. Lisa has shown extraordinary courage in the face of this grief and channelled her energies into being a campaigner for stronger action on knife crime. Does the Leader of the House agree with me that more needs to be done to make sure that our communities have the ability to deal with these kinds of emergencies? And will he meet with me to talk about making time for a debate on the idea of introducing bleed kits to nighttime venues so that these places are better equipped, as are their staff, to deal with those initial moments when somebody is stabbed and potentially save lives?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sorry to hear of what happened to Ryan. No family should have to go through that. And my honourable friend raises an important matter. The government has just announced a knife crime strategy, and I will bring to the Minister's attention my honourable friend's comments about bleed kits, because they have an important role, I think, to play in this. First aid does save lives, or can save lives in these situations, and I'll make sure that the relevant minister hears her concerns.
Matt Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday we learned that 600 jobs could be lost across North and South Tees NHS trusts, including nurses and clinical staff. This is devastating for hard-working NHS staff and for residents worried about local services. Will the Leader allow a debate on these job losses, and will he join me in urging the NHS to ensure that these affected staff are properly supported?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Where there are job losses, then if they are inevitable, then it is important that staff are supported in that. But this is a local matter which I'm sure if the honourable gentleman seeks an adjournment debate, he will get a response directly from a minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week I visited our youth hub in Blaenau Gwent and Rumney. I heard firsthand some fantastic success stories of young people being supported into work through this Labour government priority. Can I ask the Leader of the House, please, can we have a ministerial statement on the work of these youth hubs and how they will integrate with the new Youth Jobs Grant to help even more young people into jobs?
Mr. Speaker, access to work for young people, given the legacy that we inherited of the number of people not in employment, education or training, is a big priority for this government. And of course, through the Milburn Review, we're looking to see what further steps we can take. I cannot say to my honourable friend that should he seek a meeting with the relevant minister to see how this can be done in a joined-up way, I'll certainly support him in trying to get that meeting.
Susan Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to continue to highlight the importance of local railway, as has been already raised by my honourable friend for Bathgate and Linlithgow. This year is the 200th anniversary of Scotland's first modern railway, and the Monkland and Kirkintilloch line. It opened in 1826, just months after Stockton and Darlington became the first passenger railway in the world to use steam trains. And it's the first railway in Scotland to be authorised by Act of Parliament to use steam trains for both passengers and goods. The community in my constituency of Mid Dumbartonshire is celebrating with exhibitions, talks and a guided walk in Whitegates Park, which is named after the level crossing where the line approached the Forth and Clyde Canal, delivering Monkland coal to barges destined for Edinburgh. Will the Leader of the House join me in congratulating Don Martin, an eminent local historian who has researched and championed the heritage of the line for decades? And will he consider coming north?
Order. The Honourable Lady has been here long enough to know that questions really cannot be that long. Leader.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I certainly congratulate everyone involved in the commemoration of the Monkland Railway. It is, from her account, one of the oldest, and I know how important these are from my region, where in fact the first railways were developed from similarly to this one, from the work on the coalfield. So I'd like to congratulate everybody involved in that, and I hope that their celebrations are very successful.
Lavendra Mishra.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, following 14 years of severe austerity under previous coalition governments and Conservatives, in December, this Labour government allocated a record £7.3 billion to English councils to fix potholes and improve roads. Sadly, the Liberal Democrat-run Stockport Council has a self-imposed policy of not filling potholes under 40 millimetres, meaning that some of the roads in my constituency are in a truly shocking condition. I'm currently running a survey on my website on this issue, and an overwhelming majority of residents have raised Edgeley in my constituency as a concern. Many of my constituents feel that the disparity in the road conditions between more affluent areas and my constituency is quite challenging. Can I thank Mike Naylor, the Labour candidate in Edgeley, for his work on this? Can I ask the Leader of the House for a debate on government time on how councils like Stockport can better use the increased funding? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And my honourable friend is absolutely right to point to our record investment in local highways maintenance over the next 4 years and the £7.3 billion into tackling the scourge of potholes. I am astonished to hear that his Lib Dem council is not prepared to use that money. I'd encourage residents to take part in my honourable friend's survey to see the extent of the issue, but also when they get the opportunity, I'm sure that residents will make their voices heard at the dispatch box.
Andrew Snowden.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Over the last 12 months or so, a lot of residents and businesses across Fylde and Wyre have reported to me significant delays and entire times of absence of Royal Mail deliveries to their properties and businesses, with some being lucky to get it once a week, twice a week, at best, something I experience myself. But with the local government elections that are on the horizon, could the Leader of the House provide a statement or some reassurance on work that has been done between the Department for Local Government, Royal Mail and local councils to ensure that people's access to democracy through their postal votes is not diminished?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And the honourable gentleman will know, because he's an assiduous attender at these sessions, that the shortcomings of Royal Mail have been raised on a number of occasions, but he refers specifically to the forthcoming local elections. And I can reassure him that the Defending Democracy Task Force has this clearly in their sights and, as far as one can give reassurances that this is a priority in the run-up to the local elections.
Jane Croft.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Earlier this year, I had the pleasure of attending a mixed rugby tournament at Thurrock Rugby Club, hosted by the Aces mixed rugby team, and in which my daughter took part. The absolute joy and chaos of the event cannot really be understated, but it was a pure pleasure to be part of. However, opportunities for disabled children to take part in sport are unfortunately few and far between, and generally down to the likes of fantastic individuals such as Leah Knight, who runs Aces, or the indomitable Ali Gavin, who runs Southend Rugby. Will the Leader of the House allow time for a debate on the importance of sporting opportunities for disabled children and young people, so that they can truly grasp how joyous it is to be part of occasions like that in January?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And the government is absolutely clear that access to sport is important for young people, and irrespective of their circumstances and their disability, it really is important. I thank Thurrock Rugby Club for the efforts that they're making in this regard, and the people that she is talking about. This would be an ideal opportunity, I think, or topic, Madam Deputy Speaker, I think, for an adjournment debate, because my honourable friend can give further weight to the case that she's making.
Christine Jardine.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. A constituent recently contacted me concerned about the fact that her son, who's a member of the armed forces, is finding it impossible to get a driving test. The well-documented concerns about delays compounded by the fact that he is posted abroad, his timing is difficult to anticipate, and military personnel have been redeployed to support civilian instructors and testers. So can we have a statement perhaps from either the Secretary of State for Defence or Transport, or some statement to clarify how we're going to get through this impasse which has been created?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It is important that military personnel have access to driving tests, and she's right. The action which the government has taken means that resources are perhaps spread slightly thinner than they might otherwise have been. But we need to make sure that there are no delays due to administrative issues. If my memory serves me correctly, there's a backbench business debate next week about the DVLA. So the Honourable Lady might want to raise her concerns and bring into that the defence side that she's talked about.
Catherine Atkinson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Many thousands of children in Derby will be lifted out of poverty by this Labour government with changes that come in earlier this month. But there is no complacency in a city that has some of the highest salaries outside London, yet a high number of children living in poverty too. And that's why the Tale of Two Cities charity has been set up, working with businesses to create an improved life chances fund for around 500 children in our community nurseries, children that will be eligible for free school meals once they start school. So will the Leader of the House allow time for debate on the next steps in tackling child poverty so that all children have the chance to thrive?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter and for championing the work of A Tale of Two Cities. Local charities are the golden thread which run through our communities. They do a fantastic job, and the government is keen to support them, not least because we're taking action on child poverty, scrapping the two-child limit and focusing on the cost of living. I'd encourage my honourable friend perhaps to apply for Westminster Hall debate so that she can ask the Minister who responds to that what the next steps in the government's plan is.
Charlie Dewhurst.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I'm sure the Leader of the House will share my delight at the news of 2 new dental contracts worth £6 million in Bridlington, which will double NHS dental provision in the town. However, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. And I'm extremely frustrated by the news the local NHS Trust has announced the proposed closure of the care unit at Bridlington Hospital this summer. So will he join me in thanking the 1,200 residents who've already signed my petition against this closure? And can we have a debate in government time on the provision of health services in coastal communities?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And the honourable gentleman will know that I'm very keen, not least because I have a coastal community, a coastal constituency, to ensure that coastal communities get the support that they need. The reality is that the government is putting in a great deal more resource into NHS. There are still difficult decisions to be made, but I'm sure, and I would encourage people to make their voices heard, and I'm sure that as the NHS deliberates on the best way forward for his hospital, those voices will be heard.
Madam Jogi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Queen Elizabeth II was and still is held in the highest esteem by the people of Newcastle and Lyme and Staffordshire. Next Tuesday is the 100th anniversary of her birth. So will the Leader join me in paying tribute to Her late Majesty's long life of service to our United Kingdom and the Commonwealth? And will he encourage all colleagues to sign EDM 3129 that I've tabled to mark that milestone?
Leader.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I certainly join my honourable friend in saying that Her late Majesty was a remarkable individual, not simply in terms of the time that she gave to public service, but the way that she conducted herself. And I have to say, I think that she would be immensely proud of the way in which the current sovereign is working as well. It is the 100th anniversary of her birth, as my honourable friend says, and I think it appropriate that we pay tribute to that and mark that in some way, and I would encourage colleagues to sign his early day motion.
Vicky Slade.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. A report by the charity My Time Young Carers, based in Broadstone but working across the country, found that young carers are twice as likely to be persistently absent than their classmates and shockingly more than twice as likely to face school suspensions. Now, young carers are now included on the school census, but 69% of schools do not have a young carers champion. So given the opportunity presented in the upcoming schools bill expected in the next session, can we have a debate on government time on how we support young carers in the classroom through the creation of young carers champions in every secondary school?
Madam Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Lady will know that the government is keen to ensure that schools have resources to tackle some of the issues that their children face, and I do understand the difficulty of young people who are carers in ensuring that they can fully commit to school life. But I will raise her issue. She's right, there is a bill going through Parliament currently, but I will raise the issue that she mentions with the relevant minister, because I think she's got an important point here.
Jonathan Brash.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Public service is about dedication, resilience and delivering for those who need it most. And Denise McGuckin, Chief Executive of Hartlepool Borough Council, has exemplified those qualities throughout an outstanding career as she prepares to retire next week. It has been my privilege to work with Denise for 2 decades, during which time she has shown unwavering commitment to the people of Hartlepool. From starting as a recycling officer 30 years ago to leading the council through the pandemic, securing over £160 million of investment, delivering outstanding children's services and bringing the tall ships back to our town, her calm, compassionate and decisive leadership has left a lasting legacy. So will the Leader of the House join me in thanking Denise for her remarkable service to the people of Hartlepool and wishing her a long and happy retirement?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is right to pay tribute to Denise McGuckin. Civil servants work tirelessly to serve our local communities, and they are the very foundations of local government, and chief executives have a tremendously important role to play in leadership. So I join him in wishing Denise a well-deserved retirement after years of dedicated service.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last Friday, along with the leader of North Lincolnshire Council, I visited the Carers Support Centre in Brigg and met the staff and volunteers who do such an excellent job, but also heard from individual carers about the challenges that they face. One of which, incidentally, was the complexity of government forms that they have to complete for various benefits. Could the leader find time for a debate where we can explore how we can better support carers up and down the country?
Leader.
Thank you. The honourable gentleman is right to draw attention to the importance that not only carers play, but also carers support centres too, in a very challenging, often situation. I would be interested to receive the feedback that he got from his meeting, actually, to ensure that if we can get it to ministers, we can build on the commitment that we have given to support carers in every way possible.
Liz Twist.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, Consett is full of great community-focused organisations. And recently, I met Shadows of Life CIC, who offer dog-assisted therapy for care homes, for young people, for those at risk of suicide, and veterans. And I met them at the Foundation for Good, another charity in Consett, which focuses on well-being and support across the community. Can we have a debate in government time on the vital role that social enterprises and charities play in strengthening and building our communities?
Leader.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. And may I say that my honourable friend is absolutely right to champion community-based organisations, not least in the fine town of Consett, of which I am his son, and very grateful for that. Social enterprises and charities provide essential support to the most vulnerable and are the golden thread that tie our communities together. I'm delighted to hear of the work of the Foundation for Good and others. And I would encourage my friend to apply for a Westminster Hall debate, or indeed an adjournment debate, so that she can highlight not just the good work that's been done in Consett, but in other areas too.
James.
Madam Deputy Speaker, in February, the National Cancer Plan announced that a rare cancers clinical lead and a rare cancers research lead would be appointed, but no time frame was given for these appointments. These new positions are key to progressing outcomes for people with rare cancers, people who have been left out of previous cancer plans. So can the leader make time for his colleagues in the Department of Health to update the House on progress with these appointments?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I don't know the answer to the question about where we are with the appointments, but I'll certainly take it up with the Minister and find out and let the honourable gentleman know.
Helena Dollymore.
Madam Deputy Speaker, we have a pothole epidemic in Hastings Rye and the villages, and that is why this government gave East Sussex County Council a record £21 million to tackle it, more money than ever before. Yeah. So I was absolutely furious when I uncovered figures that showed they actually planned to spend £18 million in the same year, £3 million less, on filling potholes. Absolutely shocking. The drivers and residents that I represent are fed up with this Conservative council dodging their responsibilities and wasting our taxpayers' money, like £5 million overspent on the shambolic Queensway Gateway project. Does the Leader of the House agree with me that there are now no more excuses and East Sussex County Council must crack on and fill the potholes?
Leader.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And my honourable friend is absolutely right to highlight the action taken by government to ensure that councils have the necessary resources to tackle potholes. So it is inexplicable, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the performance of Conservative-run councils like East Sussex on potholes, which has been raised with me on a number of occasions, is falling below the standards that we would expect. If they get the resources, they should spend the resources. And I hope that residents are making their voices very clear on these matters.
Sir Ashley Fox.
Madam Deputy Speaker, my constituency has 2 railway stations, one in Highbridge, one in Bridgewater. Sadly, neither station is accessible. There is no step-free access to enable wheelchair users and those with mobility impairments to move easily from one platform to another. To do so at both stations involves travelling a circuitous route, leaving the station and crossing a busy road. So can I ask the Leader of the House for a debate in government time on improving accessibility across our rail network?
Leader.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and I understand the frustration of the honourable gentleman if there are railway stations and a railway service where some people are unable to access that. The government has announced an investment of £303 million over 4 years via Access for All, and I'll get him an update from the relevant minister about what that means for his constituency.
That's Thomas.
Thank you, ma'am. Does my right honourable friend share my profound disappointment that the party opposite selected a candidate for the local elections in Harrow who thinks, for example, that British-born Asian MPs, such as the former Prime Minister and the current Home Secretary, aren't British, should go back to Pakistan, supports discrimination against Romanians and thinks there should be mass deportations? So could we therefore have a statement on what more can be done to tackle online hatred and to curb racism more generally in our politics?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And my honourable friend raises a very concerning matter. We stand, Madam Deputy Speaker, for unity, not division. Racism or any other form of discrimination has absolutely no place in our society. There is a real political choice at these local elections. Pride in Britain and our communities up and down the country stand united against those who would exploit division for their own ends. And I have to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, where political parties are aware of this situation, they should have the courage to stand up to individuals, and they should, even at this late stage in the process of local elections, they should distance themselves from them.
Will Forster.
Madam Deputy Speaker, a wife of a civil servant in my constituency of Woking gave up work to look after her husband when he was diagnosed with MND. She found herself in severe financial difficulties after significant delays in the processing of her husband's civil service pension. He sadly died last year, and she only started receiving support a couple of weeks ago. As this is not an isolated case, please will the Leader of the House guarantee there is a debate in government time so that MPs can scrutinise the mess that is civil service pensions?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'm genuinely very sorry to hear of the constituency case that the honourable gentleman raises. If he will let me have details of that, I know it's been resolved to some extent, but if he has details of that, I will make the Minister aware of that. We're busy trying to get on and actually resolve this situation, but I'm sure that when the time is appropriate that we'll want to return to this debate what has happened and learn lessons from it.
Baggy Shankar.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last month it was brilliant to see Derby, the home of rail, host the Community Rail Network Awards, recognising the fantastic work people do on behalf of their communities and the railways, and welcoming over 600 people to our city. And I saw that dedication firsthand when I went litter picking with volunteers at Pear Tree Station. Will the Leader of the House join me in commending the work not only of those hard-working volunteers in Derby, but the invaluable contribution these volunteers make across the country?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is right to champion the work of Community Rail Network and the dedication of its volunteers. As I've said previously today, community groups and volunteers are the golden thread that tie our community together, and I absolutely thank the people that he's talking about in Derby and indeed in other parts of our country.
Jim Shannon.
Deputy Speaker, I wish to raise the concerns regarding the detention of Roy Silva, a British citizen who has been reportedly been held in Sri Lanka after attending a discussion at a local Roman Catholic church when he spoke about his Christian faith. From the end of January, he has been held in atrocious conditions, mostly over that time with 200 prisoners, more recently a room with 25 prisoners. Mr Silva, who lives in Chingford with his family, had travelled to Sri Lanka to attend his sister's funeral. Will the Leader of the House ask the Foreign Secretary to set out what steps have been taken to secure his immediate release, safe return to the UK, and what representation have been made to the Sri Lankan authorities regarding his detention? Thanks so much.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the honourable gentleman for raising such a serious and concerning case. As he knows, the UK is committed to defending freedom of religion and belief for all, and I can assure them we are treating this case with the seriousness that it deserves, and I will make sure that he gets from the Foreign Secretary a response which will set out what actions we're taking.
Dr Lauren Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. This Saturday, the streets of Gravesend are going to be filled with vibrancy and colour with a Vaisakhi celebration and religious procession through the town. British Sikhs have made such a positive contribution to Gravesham and across the UK, the cornerstone of their faith being selfless service. Will the leader join with me to congratulate all involved in this celebration and grant a debate in government time about the contribution of British Sikhs on and the needed and promised inquiry on the 1984 storming of the Golden Temple in Amritsar?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for her question. She's absolutely right to recognise the vital contribution of British Sikhs in our community, something which has been raised regularly in these sessions. They're such an important part of the diversity of our communities, but the strength of our communities too. I think this would be a great topic for a backbench business debate or even an adjournment debate, because there are Sikh communities across our country, and I'm sure other members would want to join in similarly in praise of the work that's been done in communities in their patch.
Rachel Maskell.
Deputy Speaker, academics in York, a human rights city, drew my attention to the government consultation Family Returns, Reforming Asylum Support and Enforcing Family Returns, and how it seeks to extend the use of constraint, including physical restraint, to children. This is extremely chilling. While the consultation is ongoing, it soon closes. So will the Leader of the House speak to the Home Secretary to withdraw these extreme measures, because academics highlight how restraint, physical restraint, traumatises children?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Home Office, as my honourable friend has said, is consulting on these views on changes and more widely changes, and I can reassure her that no decision has been made, that children's welfare and safeguarding duties remain central to this process, and as is our compliance with our domestic and international obligations. Any concerns raised by honourable members will be considered in the consultation, but I will ensure that the Home Secretary hears my honourable friend's concerns.
Ewan Steinbank.
Following a decision last year to outsource care provision at Ticketshaw Court in Durry Pace, the community, residents and families have campaigned to highlight the significant stress and uncertainty this has caused over the last year. Following their persistent efforts, the Ombudsman found serious operational failures with the consultation process, options appraisal and information given to decision makers, and compelled Health and Social Care Partnership officers to apologise to the Ticketshaw Court residents last week. Will the Leader join me in commending the Denny and Durry Pace community for their tireless campaigning alongside the residents?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable
no, I want to do it live. I can listen to the statement on my phone, so that's fine. And then I guess you got me off the back of the statement.
They're kind of running out of shot. Right, yeah. Totally.
Good. Oh, no, now. So we'll give a statement like 5 say, I think 20 past, but she should have finished by now. I should go check this time.
Sound test. You all right? Test, test, test. We're at the Oval. Good. One more thing. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, James Telfer, COVID Bereaved Families for Justice UK. COVID vaccinations save millions of lives across the globe. But this report makes clear that much of the progress made during the pandemic has been undermined and the lessons about what went wrong are still to be learnt. For the COVID bereaved, this is deeply personal. Many of our loved ones died because vaccinations came too late. We know exactly what is at stake when people are left exposed. So the question now is whether the government will do enough to make sure the vaccines can save as many lives as possible when the next pandemic arrives. That means acting now on the lessons in this report. We're into the last pandemic without sufficient drug and vaccine manufacturing capacity. More than 6 years later, nothing has changed. That is unacceptable, and the government needs a serious long-term plan for vaccines alongside therapeutics, antivirals and prophylactics. It needs the capacity, funding and resilience to move quickly in a crisis. Importantly, the government needs to make sure that people are not left behind because of distrust, exclusion or barriers to access, especially those most at risk. But that work will count for far less if trust in vaccines continues to decline. Conspiracy theories did real damage during the pandemic, and the spread of vaccine misinformation is increasing the risk to public health today. Much more must be done to challenge dangerous conspiracy theories that threaten public health. And where people were seriously harmed after vaccinations, having acted in the public good, they deserve proper support and a fair route to redress. For us, the value of this report lies in what happens next. This report must lead to real change. There will be another pandemic. The government must not turn it back on pandemic preparedness. Thank you.
Is that okay on camera? Sorry. Is that okay? When Boris Johnson told the country we need to learn to live with COVID, he promised that those at highest risk would be protected. That includes people with health conditions like cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and those with weakened immune systems. That promise was not kept. Clinically vulnerable families have been raising the alarm for 6 years. Today, Baroness Hallett has published her findings and recognises the significant need for effective antiviral treatments. The inquiry accepts without reservation that we need to provide protection to the immunocompromised, including through preventative drugs, and that this must be a priority. Baroness Hallett has held that the government should pay close attention to the needs of clinically vulnerable and access to vaccines in a safe environment. We're pleased that the inquiry has recognised the significant difficulties in accessing antivirals which remain today. The report recognises that vaccines have saved millions of lives. There was an extraordinary national effort. Over 250,000 people still died and continue to die from COVID, and the vast majority were clinically vulnerable, and many of those deaths were avoidable. Millions of people with serious health conditions who continue to receive flu vaccines and have been quietly removed from the COVID vaccine protection programme, but their risk has not gone. And it's because of the cost. It's against the guidance of the World Health Organization, against the evidence. We must remember that the virus didn't disappear, the support did, leaving clinically vulnerable people increasingly exposed. Families are still forced to travel abroad to protect their children, driving to Germany, flying to America, because UK children's vaccine rollout was far too slow, too limited and too short. Even today, clinically vulnerable children are denied vaccines. One doctor in Germany vaccinating a clinically vulnerable child from the UK asked, "Why can't she get this at home?" And for those who can't rely on vaccines for protection, there was another option, a preventative treatment, Eversheld, approved for use in the UK, but used in France, Germany, the US, and every other comparable Western country. But we didn't buy it or use it. Shamefully, the UK were the only Western country that didn't. It's clear from the findings that preventative treatments were sacrificed at the expense of the vaccine programme. This was not a failure, it was a choice. 4 years, 4 Prime Ministers, and the people at highest risk are still waiting for protection. Where's Streeting? You promised an end to sticking past to politics. You promised a health service that will keep people well, not that just treats them when they become sick. We are asking to meet you. The tools exist, the evidence is clear. Living with COVID should not mean living without protection.
I'm Shannon Banks, and I'm one of the community that's represented by clinically vulnerable families. I'm clinically vulnerable and was invited to get the COVID vaccine in February of 2021, early, as a priority. Unfortunately, the vaccine triggered my lupus and caused heart damage. I was in and out of hospital for 9 months, and I ended up on lifetime heart medication. Understandably, my doctors advised me to no longer get any more COVID vaccines. But when I asked what I should do instead, nothing was made available. Despite the fact that a treatment was approved in the UK, it was not purchased by the UK, and it was not allowed for us to have. As a result, I lived apart from my family for over a year, shielding alone in a flat. I lost a year of my daughter's life as she went through school as a teenager. I lost friends, and I lost work, and I lost time. We are still at risk today, and we need support, and we need an alternative. So not only for the next pandemic do we need an alternative to the vaccines and a multi-tiered approach, we need support now.
Hello, so I'm another member of Clinically Vulnerable Families, and the quote that was there about why couldn't this child get her vaccine at home was actually my daughter, who at the time, at 4 years old and being clinically vulnerable herself and immune suppressed, couldn't access a vaccine within the UK, and I had to take her to Germany. Utterly incredible in this day and age. And I'm sorry to say that really vaccines are no better now. Indeed, the government continually reduces the eligibility list for COVID vaccines, such that even today many people with cancer, heart disease, diabetes, asthma can no longer access COVID vaccines. This is a serious problem. As we know, the NHS is severely under stress at the moment, and particularly during winter. And we just ask the government to seriously reconsider both vaccine offers to vulnerable children and also increasing the eligibility list for adults. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Sarah Stephen. I'm also a member of Clinically Vulnerable Families. My family member currently has cancer. When he caught COVID recently, we knew that there was an antiviral available on the NHS, and we were really happy that that could help him. But we also knew that that antiviral needed to be taken within 5 days. We did a COVID test at home, he was positive. We did another one, he was positive. So we took him straight away to hospital as we were advised on his cancer red card. When we got him there, the hospital did not administer antivirals straight away. Instead, they said they needed to test him again for COVID with their own test. It needed to be sent off to the lab, and it took days to get the result back. By the time the result eventually came back, that 5-day window for taking the drugs had practically closed. I think it's really important that this report identifies that the system for getting antivirals to the people that need them is broken. It needs to be fixed now, because 5 days is an incredibly short window, and there is no time to waste when dealing with somebody's life or death. I'm really happy that CVF understands that COVID is still a serious issue for people with serious health conditions. There are hundreds of people still dying every week from this, and that includes cancer patients, those with heart disease, diabetes, etc. The list goes on. Most of the people dying are clinically vulnerable, and we're here just to make sure that those people stay alive. Thank you.
stand on that side. Is here okay? Yeah. I'm going to as part of this. So, my name is Caroline Pover and I am the Chair of Trustees of UK CV Family, the only registered charity in England and Wales providing support to those who've been injured or bereaved by a COVID vaccine. We represent 2,700 individuals and families, and for 5 years we have been stepping up to do the work that the government and the NHS should have been doing for the fallout from the rollout. We were core participants in Module 4. Our founder, Charlotte Crichton, was questioned and provided evidence. We provided an extensive witness statement, supporting evidence and hundreds of case studies. We assumed our evidence would be useful to Baroness Hallett in formulating the report and recommendations that have been published today. We are pleased to see that urgent reform of the VDPS is one of the recommendations that have been made. The inquiry has shown that VDPS reform was discussed prior to the rollout, but ultimately never happened. Instead, it has taken years of campaigning by severely ill and bereaved people to achieve what should have been established long before the very first COVID vaccine was administered. We welcome the Chair's recommendations for VDPS reform. However, we are disappointed that those recommendations do not stipulate that mental health support should be provided to all those who put in a VDPS claim, a process that many of the people we represent have described as brutal. We are also disappointed at the failure of the inquiry to recommend any kind of care pathway. There will be no NICE guidelines for future pandemics, no dedicated vaccine injury clinic, no training for patient-facing medical professionals. There will be no awareness campaign regarding adverse reactions, no emergency funding for treatment, no established helpline. We are shocked that this report states there is no basis for introducing mandatory reporting of suspected adverse reactions. However, the Module 4 report does acknowledge our existence, and I quote, "Those who were damaged by the vaccine rather than protected deserve proper recognition." Until now, our experiences have been referred to as rare, short-lived, would have been worse with COVID, or collateral damage. The public did not give consent to be collateral damage. We hope that our participation in this inquiry encourages others who have been suffering in silence to come to us and seek help. Your struggle is safe with us. We also hope that our participation brings some level of validation and comfort to people in history who have been affected by other vaccines. We honour the vaccine injured and bereaved who came before us, and we are here for the vaccine injured and bereaved of the future. Sadly, there will be more. We shall continue to work towards the creation of adequate medical, emotional and financial support for anyone whose life is affected by vaccine damage and death. We shall continue to speak out until those we represent have all the support they need. If you are dealing with injury or bereavement after a COVID vaccination, please reach out to us. Within UK CV Family, you will find support, information and friendship. Contact us through our website at ukcvfamily.org. Thank you.
Can I just ask this is then accepted? I just want to just get a quick shot of your findings. Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll read the statement outside.
spare one. Yes, I think it's snapped.
Oh, no, actually, I think it's broken.
They're not designed to like your phone.
Okay, we'll take this in.
Sorry, I think there is maybe another note.